Hi, this is Derek Murphy from creativity.com. I'm making this video to talk about book cover design, but specifically about online graphic software or tools or templates, because one of the challenges that I've been trying to solve for the last 5 or 6 years is I wanted to make it possible for authors, especially indie authors on a budget, to make their own book cover design without making a really ugly cover that kills their book sales. And there's a lot of reasons why this is challenging, so I wanted to make this video to talk about the challenges I've come across when trying to build an online tool, some of the limitations with other online tools, when you should use a book cover design software tool or templates versus a pre-made cover versus hiring a designer. And part of the interesting piece of this conversation, something that I've come across a lot, when you self-publish or when you do indie publishing, there's this huge service community who is getting paid like it's their job to make things for you. And so they get a little bit, not skeptical, not angry, but sometimes they can freak out a little bit if you say you're looking for a cheaper option. I've come across this mostly with editing. So I often don't recommend indie authors who are publishing for the first time to hire an expensive editor, because 99% of the time you need to tell a good story, and the writing or the editing isn't the thing that's going to make or break the success of your book. So you don't want to invest thousands of dollars on a book that's not going to earn money, because that's a very painful learning process. That's what tends to happen. Most authors overspend because they don't know who to hire, and they don't hire good services, so they tend to overspend for poor services for a book that doesn't have a market anyway, and then they get frustrated because they've spent all this money, and then they give up writing, or it's very easy to feel overwhelmed. So if you spend like $2,000 or $3,000 publishing your book and your book is a failure, it doesn't earn any money, it's easy to feel like, oh crap, I can't do this, I can't make a living as a writer, nobody wants my book. And that's not necessarily the case. Just because you bought the wrong services or you hired the wrong people, or you wrote the wrong book that doesn't have an audience, that doesn't mean you can't do it. You just have to learn to make better choices. So when I talk about, you should self-edit, you should get beta readers, you should make sure you have a strong story, you may not necessarily want to hire a professional editor for your first book until you've tested the market. Some professional editors get really upset because they say, that's bad advice, because every author must have an editor. They shouldn't publish a book without getting it professionally edited. So in the same sense, book cover designers tend to say the same things. When I talk about, like today I was posting something on Facebook, and I said I'm revamping my book cover design software or tool, and I wanted to get some quick feedback, and I got some replies like, an indie author should never use a tool, or why use a cover design tool? It'll never replace a professional book cover designer. So this video is going to talk through that process. My reply was, basically, it's a different market. If you have a lot of money or you want to hire a professional designer, that's fine. On the other hand, even if you're spending several $100s up to $1,000, it doesn't mean you'll necessarily get a high quality book cover design. There's a few reasons for this. There are people who built up a platform, they've built a business, or they're really good at marketing, so they are book cover designers, but they're actually not very good at book cover design, or they don't know what kind of covers actually sell the book. So there's the chance, and especially when you Google book cover design, I'm lucky I've been doing this for a while, so if you Google book cover design, I will show up on the first page of Google. But there are other companies that advertise. They spend lots and lots of money on advertising to get in front of you. And if you hire, especially something like a small press, or someone who does very aggressive marketing, so you hire someone because maybe they see that you're looking for publishing, and they say, we love your book, we really want to help you publish, you just have to pay a couple $1,000s for editing, or you just have to pay us for some processing fees or whatever. It's very common to have publishing packages which range from $500 up to $10,000, which you should never really pay that much money. I think if you're just paying for services, it's reasonable to pay a couple $1,000s for high quality cover design, book formatting, and potentially editing. Editing can be really expensive because it's extremely time consuming. But cover design, tends to be less than $1,000. I charge more because, like I said, I'm getting a lot of traffic and I've built a good reputation. But you can also find high quality cover designers for less. And what I've seen coming out recently in 2017 is there's a lot of amazing high quality illustrators who, and the difference between cover design and illustration, I do photoshopping, so I'll take stock photography and I'll blend them together and I'll make a nice scene. That tends to sell very well for most genres, but in some, like young adult or high fantasy, illustration can do well, and there are some really high quality talented illustrators who are in Eastern European countries or in Asia, or they're starting out and they don't charge very much for their illustrations. This is also the case for pre-made covers because they can make some really high quality art, which takes them a lot of time, but it's finished. So they just have to put it up for sale for $100 or $200, and they're getting pretty good money for their time because they don't have to spend a lot of time fixing it or trying to make what the author wants. It takes a lot more time to try to satisfy an author, which is part of why I charge so much money, because almost always I can make a cover design that's going to sell the book, in an hour or two, but it will take me months to satisfy an author who doesn't know what they want and keeps changing their minds, or they want to see, 100 different versions of some work before finally deciding that the first one I made was better. Anyway, so I partly have to price high because that tends to be the average process with working with a lot of authors, which is also why I don't really do cover design anymore, and I'm really excited about focusing on DIY book cover solutions instead. So talking about DIY book cover solutions or book cover design software is a different thing because it's partly a different market. Some authors will be willing to spend $500 on a cover because they want the best and want someone to do it for them. The frustration of hiring someone else to do it, even if you buy a pre-made, is you can't make changes yourself. You can't quickly edit the tagline. You can't change the title, the author name. Most of that stuff won't need to be changed anyway, but it's nice to have the source files, especially, for example, if you're writing a long series and you don't want to pay a designer for every book in the series, or if you just want to put out a quick prequel or a freebie, or something that's smaller that you don't want to spend a lot of money on a cover design. So it's not really the same market or the same thing. It has different purposes, and it is really handy to have a design tool where you can make promotion graphics or you can make your own covers, and also for making 3D graphics, which is something I'll talk about in a minute. So I've been trying for the last 5 or 6 years to build some resources to help indie authors design their own book covers. One of the things that I tried was making covers in Microsoft Word, which sounds really strange, but authors already know how to use Microsoft Word, and there are some kind of cool functions. You can use your own fonts. There are some benefits to trying to make a cover in Microsoft Word. Of course, it's not amazing, but the advantage of a template is that I can design it really well, and you can just change the text and the graphics and make something that's reasonably okay, probably better than starting from scratch. So the other thing that's important to point out is that the tool is always limited by the template. So there are some really cool graphic design software out there online already. I know a lot of authors use PicMonkey. Canva is really popular. Canva has some book cover design templates. I'm looking at one that's Cover Genie Pro. There's My eCover Maker. There's a lot of different graphic design templates. Mine is on DIYbookcovers.com. There's a cover creator, and that's the software that I tried to build a couple of years ago, and it's never been quite finished because it was always like I took a Flash-based program which offers some more robust features than most other tools. Like with Canva, the main limitations with online cover design software is that they don't have enough fonts. So they don't have the right fonts for the right genre, and fonts are hugely important to communicate genre. But also most cover design templates, cover design creation tools, they don't really allow for layers. So they may allow you to layer different things, but they don't allow you to blend layers. So you may be able to make one layer transparent and show the other layer behind. But if you want really high quality covers, especially for fiction, like the type of stuff I do for fiction, you need like dozens of different layers. You have the background layer, then you have a layer. If you have a transparent PNG, you can get like a character, but you get someone to crop out the background, so that's a transparent PNG you put on top of the background layer. Then you put like 5 or 6 different layers on top for colors and contrast and what's the word? Different kinds of blending effects. I can't think of the right word, but there's a texture. So you want texture layers. Depending on the type of the book, you probably want different textured layers. You could have light effects or shadow effects. You have all these layers stacked up against each other and blended in different modes, which allows you to have this real powerful depth, which is important, especially for a lot of commercial genre fiction. And so that's why I was excited about building my own tool that allows you to do all that stuff without needing Photoshop. But like I said, just having the tool isn't really enough, because if you, like an author's worst, the worst thing an author can have is a blank canvas, because a blank canvas means you'll just do whatever you want and you'll design it the way that you feel it should be designed. And even if you make the art look not terrible, you'll probably screw up the text, and the text is a lot more important than you think it is. I see a lot of authors who say things like they buy the art and then they expect the text just to be easy or free, or they don't understand why. I've seen some controversies. For example, if one designer hires an illustrator to make the art, but then charges a lot more, maybe the illustrator is a couple $100, but the cover designer is charging $800, and all they're really doing is adding text, which really pisses off indie authors because they think they're being ripped off or taken advantage of. But I've also seen a lot of really high quality artists and illustrators who don't know how to add text to a cover. I've seen a lot of like premades or high quality artists who use the same fonts for every premade. And so like they have the same style, they have the same font. So even if you have new or different art, it's going to look just like dozens of other books in your genre because they're using the exact same text effects or font layouts, which can be okay if it looks good. But I've also seen pre-made covers or illustrators who just don't know how to make good text. I often see a lot of the pre-made cover sites. I can often find really high quality art there for a good deal, but the text is terrible. So I have to ask the artist to take all the text off so I can redo the text. And that's partly why I can charge a lot of money. It's because I know how to put the text on. And that's not a low value skill. That's actually a high value skill, even though it's really easy, even though it seems like that should be something that's pretty cheap or free because it doesn't take a lot of my time. It's a very high value skill to know what type of fonts sell the books and how to lay out the text professionally so it looks like a traditionally designed cover. So that's something easy to mess up that you don't want to make mistakes with. And if you're just, building your own cover with Canva or whatever, it's really easy to get the text wrong if you don't know what you're doing. So one of the reasons I'm excited about building templates is because I can just make hundreds of different templates with different font layouts or text layouts, which all look really good, and you can just get the art or the stock photography and just put them in the background. So I'm going to be redoing, I have some tools on DIYbookcovers.com. Like I said, I was doing like Word templates. I don't really want to do Photoshop templates because I feel like if you know how to use Photoshop, you could, well, I don't know. I might do some Photoshop templates because I think there might be a demand for that. I'll probably include some of those in my DIY package. But I'm more excited about building new cover design tools that are better than what's out there already. And like I said, there are some great tools already that people have built with really crappy templates. And so the tool is kind of useless because if the templates are no good and the alternative is making a blank canvas and doing it yourself, that tool isn't really serving indie authors. And you might, they're mostly for lead magnets or for online marketers or internet marketers who are just building not crappy books. They might be good quality books, but they're basically publishing books to sell as a business. It's a little different from people who are writing high quality fiction or nonfiction and need very professional covers. There isn't really anything out there right now. Even in the pre-made space, there's tons of pre-made covers, but most of them are pretty crappy. There aren't a lot of nonfiction covers on most of the pre-made cover sites. And like I said, there are a lot of tools with templates, but the templates really don't offer enough flexibility. They don't have enough fonts included, enough options, and they don't allow the blending modes to make really high quality covers. So those are some of the things I'm working on that I'm excited about. And also, like I said, there are different markets. So like if you want to hire a cover designer, if you want to pay lots of money for high quality cover, you can do that. But not everybody wants to do that. Some people just want, a $50 tool or $100 tool that they can use to make their own covers or make changes or make, to play around with their own stuff. It's also really important to learn about cover design, because if you don't know about cover design, you can't just make what you want and expect it to sell. So I also have a lot of videos on cover design. I have a free book on cover design. Definitely educate yourself about cover design before you start playing around with this stuff. But I am excited about cover design, the cover design tools I'm building. I'm going to spend a lot of money. I'm working with some designers right now to revamp my tool, and I might also possibly make another tool. The problem with mine is that it's a little bit, I wanted to make like Photoshop online so that you don't have to have Photoshop, but it has all the same features. The problem is it might be a little bit too robust. Some authors may not want all those layers to blend. They just want a quick, easy cover. So I might make something else that's a little bit different. I also really want something to make 3D cover templates. There's a few tools like that online, but I want my own, so I'm going to try to build something like that that'll be coming out over the next few months. So I hope this video possibly answers some questions. It may not, because I tend to ramble on. But if you have any questions about cover design specifically, or you want some recommendations of cover designers or templates, you can find me at creativitycovers.com, or check out DIYbookcovers.com to see some of the tools I'm building. I'm going to revamp that site once everything is finished, but there's already some stuff now. And if you want to get in now, you get lifetime membership anyway, so you'll get access to all the new tools that I build later, but I'll probably raise the price later. So it might be a good idea to buy if you're interested to see what I'm building. Anyway, so I hope that helps. Thanks. Bye-bye.